All right, many times when you are determining who the fighter of the year is, a case can be made for multiple fighters. However, in 2021, I don't think anyone can dispute that Canelo Alvarez is hands down this year's winner. 3 fights in 2021, 4 fights in an 11-month span. He cleaned out the 168-pound division as he became the first Mexican-born fighter to become an undisputed champion and the first fighter to become undisputed at super middleweight. Barack, let's begin with you. What is it going to take for Canelo Alvarez to be recognized as the greatest Mexican boxer of all time?
It's going to take Sergio Mora to leave him the heck alone, first of all. That's one thing. And you know what? My favorite book says that even a prophet doesn't receive respect in his own home. And I think while fighters are here, it's hard for them to get the clout that they truly deserve. He's beaten 16, 17 champions, far surpassed Julio Cesar Chavez in the amount of champions he's beaten. Julio Cesar Chavez has never been undisputed. And just eye test alone, if anybody in the world says eye test alone that Canelo is not better than Julio or any other Mexican, they're lying. But I don't like to argue that, and I'm sorry I even brought that up, because he's past that already. We're talking about Canelo as one of the best fighters of all time, and that's because of resume. Whenever we talk about great fighters, we talk about what they did, and Canelo is beating everybody right now.
And let's not get into Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.'s resume. The type of fighters he was fighting after 50 fights, after 60 fights, after 65, 70 fights, guys with 7 fights, 5 fights, 4 fights. That's not even getting into that.
Debuts.
I mean, just to echo Barack, when you talk about skill set and accolades, doesn't that define what a great fighter is? So there's no question about him being better than Cesar Chavez Sr., but we'll let you counter that, Sergio.
There is no counter to that.
Well, allow me to retort. Look, man, when it comes to El Gran Campeón Mexicano, what he did was win hearts and minds, man. What he did was, you can't erase that nostalgia of how he made you feel. That's what it is. He carried a whole country on his shoulders, and it was a lot different in the 80s and early 90s when Chavez was fighting, because there was no social media. You had a whole family. You had neighbors come into a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm speaking for myself in East LA. We would have parties and fiestas. You can't erase that, man. It's a lot different. The accolades, the historical references, yeah, you can make comparisons. The belts and everything that he's done, Canelo, yeah, he's already surpassed them in that sense. Statistically, he's already passed them. But you got to remember how people feel. That's all I'm saying. Chavez.
I felt great when Big Daddy Kane came out, but guess what? Then Jay-Z came out, and the rest is history. So, I mean, you can still love an old fighter, but if somebody's better, at some point you got to say, you're just better.
You can make the case for Canelo being on the way, but you're not going to appreciate his greatness until it's past. When it's already past, when you're looking back at Canelo's career, then you can say, like, wow, you know what? That he was greater. But in the meantime, you can't do it.
You have a tendency, Sergio, to commingle boxing skill and icon status. I don't think Canelo Alvarez will ever surpass, as you said, Julio Cesar Chavez in the hearts and minds of Mexican fans. He may not even surpass someone like Salvador Sanchez in the hearts and minds of Mexican fans. But the question is, what can he do to become the greatest Mexican boxer of all time? I do think it's a lot closer than Ak and Barack seem to think it is right now. What Canelo can do is one very simple thing in 2022. Fight and beat Alexander Usyk. That's the fight I want to see in 2022. We've heard from Usyk over the last few weeks say, you know what? I'd come down and wait for that fight. I'd even drop back to cruiserweight for that fight. I don't want that fight at cruiserweight. I want that fight.
I don't want that fight either. I don't want that fight either, because people aren't going to be happy. People are not going to be happy until Canelo gets beaten or knocked out. And guess what? That's also what adds to the chapter of greatness. seeing a great man stumble and come back. Every great fighter had to come back from bad losses, from Ali to Robinson to Sugar Ray Leonard. That's what people want.
Sergio,
They don't want
hold
the
on.
tough. They don't want the perfect, squeaky clean guy in Canelo always beating everybody. So they
Sergio,
want him
you-
to
Sergio,
fall
you
for,
have-
just for he can rise again.
Sergio, you have the boxing ambition of Sven Otke. I swear to God. Like, you
Who the hell is
don't
Sven
want
Otke?
these. Exactly. An undefeated fighter who didn't face anyone back in his prime. We want these guys to challenge himself. There's nobody at 168 that gave Canelo Alvarez a real challenge. I'm not so sure there's anybody at 175 that will give Canelo a real challenge. What did Roy Jones do to make his legacy? He went from 175 to around 200 pounds, fought John Ruiz, and became the heavyweight champion. That's what I want Canelo to do.
Chris, I
Usyk
think
is
you're
not-
asking too
Usyk is
much.
not a big Why? Why am I
Because
asking too
Canelo
much?
started fighting at 140 pounds. He fought at 147 so many times. At 154, this guy is smaller than me. How can you expect him to fight a guy who just beat Anthony Joshua for a heavyweight showdown? And he's not a small cruiserweight. He's 6'4", 6'3", 6'4".
6'3".
I mean, we're asking too much of this guy, Canelo
No,
Alvarez.
I don't think. Hold on. I don't think we're asking too much because Usyk.
Yeah, you are.
To get Usyk to get down to the catch weight it'd have to be at would have to drop like 20 pounds to get there from his last fight. That will drain him. And let's not act like Alexander Usyk is this massive puncher. When he was at cruiserweight, he wasn't really knocking anybody out. So yeah, Canelo could lose, no question about it. But isn't that worth the risk? You take a loss against a guy like Usyk. It's better than fighting a Junior Makabu at cruiserweight.
No, but it just seems like it's never going to be enough because
let me say something. First of all, you are one of the people who call Triple G great, and Triple G has never left his division. Canelo doesn't have to do another freaking thing for people to realize that he's great. He can retire tomorrow, and 20 years from now, people are going to realize he's one of the best fighters of all time. I'm not going to talk about that Mexican crap. He's one of the best fighters of all time. He's small compared to the junior middleweights. He's smaller than Jared Hurd. He's smaller than Charlo. He's a small guy. He's just great. So it's just not fair to ask him to go up to anything. He shouldn't even be fighting at 168, really, according to his size. But nobody's telling Triple G go up. Nobody's telling these other fighters go up. No, Canelo's already proven to be great. He should not be fighting the cruiserweight. That's crazy.
But we're still like we're still jumping from the question though. The question though, what would make Canelo the greatest Mexican fighter? I think winning a heavyweight title would seal it. No, because Sergio clearly believes he's not on that level yet. So I think Sergio, let's say hypothetically,
Sergio, I got a serious question for you, Serge. Seriously, based on skill and accolades alone, is Canelo Alvarez better than Cesar Chavez Sr.?
Yes, I'll give you that, but that's not enough.
That's what it's based on. That's what this fight game is based on.
You know what Sergio did? Sergio didn't do any stats when he spoke. He just gave us the reason why he's the emotional champion. You know, but it's not
hearts and minds.
On
Nostalgia,
emotions.
yeah. Nostalgia and hearts and minds.
Then who's really better than guys like Arturo Gatti? You know what I mean? So no, like it's about what you did in that ring.
Look, guys,
Right.
Sugar Ray Robinson is the greatest fighter of all time, but they don't mention him when they talk about the greatest. They talk about Muhammad Ali because Ali changed hearts and minds. What he did for everyone outside of boxing.
He also beat almost every man he fought.
He also lost. You know, those
came
fights,
back
and he had to
and
come back,
rematch.
and that's what won hearts and minds.
Are we blaming Canelo Alvarez for only losing to Floyd Mayweather? Is that a problem because you haven't lost again?
No, he was 23. He bit off more than he can chew, and he was great for even doing
But
that.
that's my point. No, what you're saying is that you want to see guys challenge themselves, take losses, come back. But because a guy is that good in the ring and is not losing, should we fault him for that? We don't fault Floyd Mayweather for it.
No, you should not. Yeah. Look, I'm sticking to my hearts and minds, and I'm sticking to nostalgia. You always remember how people made you feel, and the way Chavez made a whole community, a whole country, everyone that's Latino, and even boxing fan. He really changed a generation. And that's what we remember. So Canelo's doing that for a different generation. And look, let me touch on something. Man, if you cover basketball, it's the exact same thing with LeBron James and Michael Jordan. You grew up watching and I'm sure praising Michael Jordan. Do you think LeBron James is the greatest right now?
Could be. His career's not over yet.
I'm asking you, who's the greatest, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Michael Jordan right now, but LeBron's
Oh, why? But
probably got 3 more
LeBron
years
James
left.
already beat him with every statistic. He's same old
No,
thing.
not really,
no, he
because my
didn't.
MJ still has more rings than LeBron, and MJ
Except
still
the
has.
rings.
Yeah, but still in all.
Except the most important thing. So what you're saying is Canelo's better, but I like Chavez more. That's basically what you're saying.
That's it.
No, I'm not even saying he's better. Just different
I'd
eras.
like to know, just to finish up here, I'd like to know, Sergio, where you rank on the list of the greatest Mexican boxers. of
No,
all time.
stop.
That's good. That's good.
Terrible, bro.